Now, Minister in the Presidency, Mondli Gungubele, says the new electricity minister will make the final decisions on policy issues. President Cyril Ramaphosa has announced that the new Minister of Electricity will be housed in the Presidency. Joining us now to unpack this is energy analyst Chris Yelland. Chris, thank you for making time for us this evening. So if this new Minister of Electricity will make the final decisions regarding the country's electricity policy, what power then remains for Energy Minister Gwede Mantashe when it comes to issues around energy?
Well, we've seen these rather mixed messages, as usual, I might say, coming from the Minister of Minerals and Energy, suggesting that this Minister of Electricity in the Office of the Presidency is nothing more than a project manager. And I must say it's disturbing to hear these kind of messages because it's completely out of line with the message that the President gave. I mean, why would the President say that this is the new Minister of Electricity in the Office of the Presidency if it was nothing more than a project manager? It kind of gives the impression that Minister Mantashe's nose is somewhat out of joint and that he's not happy with the situation. But certainly, the DMRE is responsible for electricity regulation, electricity planning in terms of the integrated resource plan for electricity, and electricity and energy policy. It seems now that the Minister of Public Enterprises will remain the shareholder representative, and the President said that Minister Gordhan would continue to be responsible for the restructuring and unbundling of Eskom, for the establishment of the independent grid company, as well as for the just transition. And it seems to me that the new Minister of Electricity's responsibility is going to be the execution of all that is necessary in order to end load shedding and to end the electricity crisis in which we plunged into. But I must say I find it somewhat disturbing having three ministers that are clearly, certainly two of them seem to be, at each other's throats, sometimes speaking with mixed messages. This doesn't augur well for a smooth execution-based strategy going forward. Yeah,
you've mentioned the Department of Energy and how it's responsible for not just regulation but planning as well. When you look at the IRP, I mean, Gwede Mantashe is the only person, Chris, with power to procure new energy capacity, and his critiques say he acted too late to approve the bid windows, and that's part of the reasons why we're sitting with this energy crisis. I mean, not a single megawatt from the bid windows that he has approved himself are adding any capacity to the grid. Do you think with the appointment of this new Minister of Electricity we'll start seeing things move quickly?
Look, when it comes to the big projects through the Renewable Energy IPP program and these bigger projects, they cannot deliver quick results anyway, no matter who's in charge. Certainly the procurement has been very, very slow and tardy. And in that respect, I think Minister Mantashe hasn't covered himself in glory. If you were to look at the performance agreement signed by Minister Mantashe with the President, you will see that the Minister, Mr. Mantashe, is responsible for the delivery of new generation capacity to the grid, for the making sure that there's energy security in South Africa, and making sure that the energy availability factor improves to where it should be. Now, he has clearly, for whatever reason, has not achieved those objectives, and the President has now taken these tasks out of Minister Mantashe's hands, appointed a new Minister of Electricity to take responsibility for ending load shedding and bringing things back to normal. So in a way, they've divided this Eskom problem into three, and if they were all speaking with a common voice, working with a common purpose, together as a team, I would have a lot more confidence. But the reality is there are deep divisions, and it's clear that people in government and in the ANC are not on the same page yet. And this is not a recipe for quick and decisive action.
Yeah, and that makes you wonder if there are not going to be overlaps and I suppose contested areas between the ministers themselves, especially given that the Public Enterprises Minister will continue being regarded as a shareholder minister there at Eskom.
Exactly. And we've seen Minister Mantashe saying that this is just going to be a project manager. We know that there have been almost open spats between Minister Gordhan and Minister Mantashe, territorial sort of battles about who is Eskom going to report to in future. The President has kind of made a decision and said that Eskom is not going to report to the DMRE just yet. It's going to continue to report to the DPE under Minister Gordhan, who will be responsible, and the shareholder representative for Eskom. And now this messaging that the new Minister of Electricity is nothing more than a project manager, it really doesn't look good to the public. It looks like there's infighting and finger pointing and that everybody's not on the same page.
Yeah. What do you think will happen to private investment in the sector, Chris, with this new minister? I mean, I don't know who they are yet. We're going to hear from the President soon, because the President did have some frustration with Gwede Mantashe. I just remember when he told us that he had to twist Mantashe's arm to lift the threshold for companies to produce their own electricity without a license to 100 megawatt. Because you'll remember, Mantashe spent a lot of time justifying the 10 megawatt, arguing that the market was not even ready for 50 megawatt.
Yeah, I think you've highlighted yet another instance where the President and the DMRE Minister don't seem to be on the same page. And it's not the only example. There are others as well. So, for example, not long after the President had endorsed the plan of the Presidential Climate Commission when they went to COP27, at that particular time, again, some serious mixed messages coming from the Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy about this plan. And not sending out the same message as the President. And this is what the public find disturbing. And I think also investors will find this mixed messaging very confusing. Even in South Africa, we find it confusing. But, if you're planning to bring money into the country for the purposes of a just energy transition linked to a decarbonization of South Africa, energy sector, to deal with climate change, you would like to see, if you're bringing in $8.5 billion, that there's a clear sort of plan and vision and not a confused and contradictory vision with a whole lot of mixed messages. That is not what investors like to see. They like to see some policy certainty.
Yeah. Chris Yelland, energy analyst, thank you for making time for us.